A full year has come and gone since the legendary return of Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker in the Ahsoka series on Disney+. A show not nearly enough people watched to warrant a second season, and yet, even with low viewership, Dave Filoni's original character Ahsoka continues to get showcased and special treatment, even though by rights, the character should long since be deceased by now. The Ahsoka show required viewers to have seen all the original films, all of the animated Clone Wars, and all of the Star Wars Rebels. That's a big ask and lots of hours to invest for most people who are just looking for mindless entertainment to pass the time. Don't get it wrong here. There are three types of Star Wars fans: the loyalists, who will buy anything Disney makes; the George Lucas separatists, who want Star Wars to go back to the way it was; and the normies, in the middle, who just want to be entertained before they have to go to work their 9-to-5 job tomorrow that they probably hate. And if we look at box office trends, if we look at Nielsen ratings trends, we're seeing an overall negative trend in Star Wars consumption. That's because the normies are opting out. They're not watching anymore. And the normies opted out of Ahsoka. Well, as someone who has seen the original films and Clone Wars and Rebels and suffered through the 7 or 8 weeks of Ahsoka, after sleeping on these thoughts for over a year, I'm here to tell you that Ahsoka was a complete waste and a worse betrayal than the disappointing sequel films. Hello, my friends, and welcome to The Pondering. I am the real-life fake wizard. If this video brings you any value at all, I invite you to subscribe to this channel, where we're posting new videos nearly every day. On Disney Investor Day 2020, Kathleen Kennedy officially announced Ahsoka and Obi-Wan were in development and would be releasing soon. But years earlier, we knew that there were projects in soft development that were supposed to feature the return of Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Anakin. This was even before Disney Plus was a thing. Boba Fett was supposed to get a movie by James Mangold after his success with Logan. Obi-Wan was supposed to get his own movie, but everything changed after Solo lost money and then Disney Plus became available to the public. So for years, we had to wait for this final announcement and then wait more years to finally get the finished product. Time is not on your side in business. When you take a long time making customers wait, especially those who are emotionally invested, their expectations are going to go off the charts. And that's exactly what's happened. And if those expectations aren't met, you don't deliver, after making your loyal fans wait almost a decade, you will face harsh criticism from your customers. And this is in any business, not just Star Wars and not just Disney. If I sold you a mop to clean your floor, you're going to expect it to clean the floor, right? In the case of Ahsoka, we bought the mop, but it doesn't soak up a damn thing. In fact, there were hazardous chemicals in it, and now I can no longer see the color yellow. Someone please send help. So after all that waiting, we finally get to the Ahsoka show, which is a direct sequel to the Rebels animation. Rebels was a good show with an ensemble cast taking place before Luke shows up. We have all new characters that all have very compelling stories, and the show gives you a good reason to emotionally care about each one. If you haven't watched it yet, just skip the first season. The second season onwards are very good, but spoilers, the show ends, and the ending is very satisfying. Kanan, the Jedi Master, sacrifices himself to save his friends. Ezra, his Padawan and the main protagonist of the show, also sacrifices himself in an effort to take an ultimate Imperial villain off the board. Through seasons 3 and 4, the main antagonist is Grand Admiral Thrawn, a Legends character from the beloved Heir to the Empire books that was reinterpreted back into the canon timeline using this show. And while this show's version is not even close to the genius-level tactician in the books, this Thrawn is still a great character and a formidable opponent. The Rebels do not defeat him per se, and in an effort to finally defeat Thrawn, Ezra traps both Thrawn and himself on Thrawn's ship and targets the Purrgil space whales to blast them out into space to be lost to regions unknown. The show concludes with Ahsoka returning after having been gone for some time to see Sabine, and the series ends with a confirmation that these two are going to go find Ezra. Yeah, look, Rebels was good, and it was done under Disney's ownership. Not everything they've done is bad, just most of it. Because all of this takes place before A New Hope happens, they needed to make sure that certain characters like Kanan, Ezra, and Thrawn are not exactly available to fight in the original 3 films, so they took them off the board in one way or another. Kanan's death was sad but necessary. Ezra's sacrifice was meaningful and something that I'm furious they squandered away in the Ahsoka Disney Plus show. When a character in any story undergoes radical transformation and growth, coming to a conclusion of making the ultimate sacrifice to not only save their friends, but also the galaxy, those choices must hold weight, because otherwise the importance of that decision is lost, and then all remaining character decisions are meaningless. The Ahsoka series involves them finding Ezra on a prison planet in another galaxy with Thrawn still alive, and resolves with Thrawn escaping this prison planet with Ezra aboard the same ship he departed on in the animated show because Ahsoka and Sabine are stupid and make foolish choices. The Ahsoka series completely undoes the sacrifice Ezra made in Rebels, like 100%, and you're supposed to just believe it and accept it. You're supposed to believe Ahsoka, who was a war general, who witnessed the death of the Jedi, the rise of the Empire, the betrayal by her master, hunted and persecuted almost her whole life. You're supposed to believe that this character is just going to smile through the pain at being responsible for unleashing Thrawn upon the galaxy again. Thrawn, who she knows will resurrect the Empire from the ashes and kill millions of people. You're supposed to just be okay with that. You're also supposed to be okay with and believe that Sabine Wren, a legacy character from the Rebels show, who is a fan favorite and a strong leader, would sacrifice the entire galaxy to Thrawn on a hunch that Ezra is still alive. In the middle of the season, very much out of character, she hands the villains the map that will take them to Thrawn on a foul bargain of tagging along to go find Ezra. See, I want to say that this is bad writing, and maybe it is, though that's entirely subjective. I know that if I'm Ahsoka in that moment, and Sabine has betrayed the entire galaxy so frivolously, that's someone I'll never respect or speak with again. Certainly not someone I'm going to forgive so easily or so simply as this season concludes with. You see, in any story, whether it's in a galaxy far, far away, or superheroes, or Godzilla, or Toy Story, the audience, the customers, need to be able to empathize with the choices that characters make. They need to be able to look at the choices characters make and believe that the choices, whether good or bad, make sense in the context of who that character is, what they stand for, and where they come from. In Disney's Aladdin, we know Aladdin has a heart of gold. He's a giving person, which is why the conflict of freeing or not freeing the genie is a genuine conflict that audiences can believe in. We believe how hard the choice is because we ourselves face hard choices like that. With Jafar, we know he's a power-hungry manipulator. We believe how easily he'd fall into a trap wishing to become a genie and sealing his fate. These moments are believable based on who all the characters are and what we know about them. So when you give us a character like Sabine, who is also a war veteran, who has been trained by Jedi, witnessed the fall of the Empire, and has had years to contemplate the sacrifice Ezra made, the stakes have never been higher in that moment for her when prompted on betraying the entire galaxy or not. It is out of character for her to choose the villains. It's out of character for her to have that kind of weakness. We know this because we spent 4 full seasons of Rebels with Sabine watching her grow into a warrior hero. And unfortunately, a problem here arises, which is very much lost in the noise of the internet nonsense. You have one group of viewers who will watch the show and consider similar complaints I've had, and their resolution will be to claim the characters themselves are bad, and likely they've not seen the Rebels show, so they don't know Ahsoka and Sabine were great, compelling characters. And on the other hand, you have people who loved the show. Instead of trying to bridge the gaps in that communication, they will respond by saying the first group just hates women. You know, the whole toxic positivity thing. And we come to a place where both groups are incorrect. Are there bad actors on all sides? Yes, of course. But let's be objective. The real trouble here is not that one group hates women, which is untrue, or that the characters are bad, which is also untrue. The truth always goes back to the people who wrote this slop to begin with. I do not blame either group for their fallacies. I blame the writers who created this drivel for not making the stories more coherent and relatable. The Ahsoka series has been described as Rebels Season 5. Well, if it were truly Rebels Season 5 and it were animated, I might consider being more forgiving. However, the show revolves around nonsense mystery box storytelling that takes a single idea that would have benefited from being a 90-minute feature film and stretches each episode into a boring slog of 8 unsatisfying entries. The B plot, including Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati, is wildly more interesting than anything else going on with the protagonist or the show's namesake. And that's because the late Ray Stevenson and Ivana Sokno were fantastic actors with great chemistry. They both brought this fantastic air of mystery to a show with writing that was completely empty. And in that emptiness of come back next season, we'll get it in the next season, you waste Ray Stevenson's potential. And now, with his unfortunate passing, we'll never see him achieve what he was after. All of that mystery box preparation will go to nothing, or it'll go to another actor when you recast him. Everything that involves these two antagonists is leading to a Thanos-level villain in the form of Abeloth, a dark side entity that's imprisoned on the planet. Abeloth is supposed to be a critical end-stage threat that Luke Skywalker must align with both the heroes and the villains in order to face. Now, it looks like they're just going to replace Luke and adapt this story with Ahsoka as the protagonist instead. This is a stupid idea, and it's only going to further polarize those separatists I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Lucasfilm and many other production companies keep stepping over legacy in place of mediocrity, and then lashing out at fans when they reject the product. Because this is a product, and fans are customers, and customers have every right to voice their opinions when they're buying. So Luke Skywalker is likely to be replaced by Ahsoka, all right? And Anakin's Force Ghost is going to guide her on this journey instead of watching over his son and daughter as everything they're building is falling apart. Yeah, right. Well, that's also terrible storytelling, and it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable because that's what Anakin would not do. I got a tangent now for a second. The inspiration behind making this video is that there are people celebrating online that we've just hit the 1-year anniversary from the Anakin sequence where him and Ahsoka fight in the world between. And the reason I find this interesting is because of the entire show, of the entire run of the Ahsoka show, that sequence is the only thing that people still care about. Whether you're a Disney shill or just a fan or a normie, the only thing that's truly memorable about this show is when Hayden Christensen is on screen. And that's because Hayden is great. He always has been, and yet, even when he's the most memorable point in the show, his character being there is unexplained, makes no sense, and plays more into a self-insert of Dave Filoni than actually being Anakin Skywalker. Dave Filoni invented the world between worlds, a place of time and space travel, and injected that into the Star Wars canon to save his original character not once, but twice. In any franchise, once they cross that fantasy boundary of doing time and space travel, it's as good as jumping the shark. Nothing makes sense anymore. If time travel is possible, then why do certain things happen? Why aren't they stopped? Why is Anakin there? How is he alive? Where is everyone? Why is Ahsoka so important? She can continue to cheat death. And don't you come at me with the comments of she's an arbiter of the light. Much of that is still speculation and unconfirmed. There is so much negativity in the fandoms. Usually two groups of fans, one who hates the property now, and one who will defend the company that bastardized the property to their dying breath. And again, there are bad actors and awful people in both camps. No one group is without fault. Both groups are riddled with error. But you know what both deserve? Good writing and good product. Both the separatists and the shills deserve writing that is compelling and interesting and moving emotionally. You want to get people to stop complaining and make better movies, make better shows, write better stories. Look at this video. I spent the last 10 minutes or so waving my fist at the air like an angry grandpa, tearing this show apart, and I didn't need to bring up diversity once. Because I don't have to. Because that's not the issue. Can it be? Sure, in the hands of bad faith leaders, of course, but not in and of itself. The problem is always the spineless, narcissistic, creatives sipping on their pumpkin spice extra cold foam macchiatos that cost $8.25, lecturing to you from their high towers, wielding a shield of diversity to hide the fact they're creatively bankrupt. Hollywood is riddled with dog shit writers without a shred of creativity in them. Ahsoka is a poorly written show that squandered an amazing opportunity to transition beloved animated characters into live action. Filled with useless member berries, the plot undermines the history that has come immediately before it and does not serve as a complete story in itself. It is only a setup for more products to come years from now. Season 2 is not even going to start filming until the summer of 2025. We'll be lucky if we see it by 2026, if not at all. Guess what, Disney? This show is not nearly interesting enough to hold over interest in an already niche audience for more than 3 years. I was a sequels apologist, clinging to hope that somehow Star Wars would redeem itself. With Book of Boba Fett, I was one of the ones saying, more Star Wars is better than less. And how foolish those sentiments were. It was after suffering through Ahsoka I realized Star Wars is truly dead, though it wasn't till The Acolyte I finally started making content about it. Ahsoka the series, not the character or its actresses, is a phoned-in disaster from a studio that has been patting itself on the back and fondling itself for over 10 years, and I can't wait to see how they screw up again next, then turn around and blame you for their mistakes. My friends, I want to thank you for joining me for this Pondering special. If you like this video, consider hitting the like button. If you want to see more from me, consider hitting that subscribe button. If you're new, you might not be new, and that's cool too. Until next time, create, innovate, inspire. May the contrived thread of destiny be with you. And for the love of God, cancel Disney Plus. Bye-bye.